Donkey gestation period. Now, for reference, everything that happened in this story was consensual for the whole party. Okay, we're starting strong. Welcome to the Twisted Pint Tavern. Today we're visiting r/D&D to check out the answers to what weird thing have you researched thanks to D&D. I'm excited about this one because if there's one thing I know about D&D players and book writers, it's that our Google search history would convict us all of many crimes. I've always found architecture super boring and couldn't care less about bay windows or Gothic churches. Now D&D has gotten me researching the exact style of manor for my mini horror campaign. Does it have bay windows, ornate cast iron bars, large spires? Is it Spanish in origin, or more Tudor in design? Researching architecture for D&D is kind of a trap, cause you start out with just looking at general floor plans of old houses, and then you're picking out the coloring for the tile in the kitchen that the players are likely to never even go into, but at least you know that it's red and white. For the homebrew world I've been building, I'd research what kinds of plants and animals would actually be in each biome, which ones are actually cultivated by people, and what sorts of foods and goods are then made from those. I doubt anyone's gonna care about the finer details of their meals at inns and taverns, but I'll know, and that's what's important. Look, the players may not care, but when you have the barkeep come over and start talking about the finest, locally grown grains for the bread and the richest imported spices from overseas, they're gonna love that. They may not care, but they're gonna love it. The melting point of human bone, and can bones become liquid? And then this reply, just add 5e at the end of every research. It's easier to defend in court. Yeah, it's probably easier to defend in court, but if you're already in court for this, you might have gone a little far. Someone asked if Rocs are magical or just big birds. The answer ultimately didn't matter, but a rabbit hole of power-weight ratios, square cube laws, tensile strengths, and other nonsense later, I decided that the aerodynamics are perfectly mundane. It's the materials that are magical. After that, my setting had birds whose bodies were only the size of elephants, but whose wings blocked out the sky. And elite mercenaries who wore rock bone armor because it was lighter and stronger than mithril. See, that just makes sense to me, perfectly logical. My team needed to get a dragon skull from one point to another, so while they thought of how to get it off the wall, I was busy trying to figure out how heavy a horse skull was to use it as a comparison. Horses are smaller, but I figured it would be a similar shape. Yeah, but you definitely want to scale that up a bit. I'm currently learning more than I ever wanted to know about sailing ships, ooh, my specialty. Different types and their historical relevance, how they work and how they were used, and most importantly, all the sailors' language, including etymology. It's a pretty deep hole to fall into. All because my newest character has the sailor background. She spent her whole life on a ship. I want her to feel real and drop real sailing facts and use the proper words she would have grown up using. Using port and starboard instead of left and right is only the beginning. I went into my pirate game already with a good bit of pirate and sailing knowledge, and I still have continued to research because man, is that fun to look into. So many things. I remember being deep in the middle of prepping one time and looking up and realizing that I had something like 43 tabs open that were all related to Beetles, not the band, the actual insect. I've done deep dives into various languages, old mythologies, religions, geography, weather, ancient marriage ceremonies, and rituals. I once completely designed an arrangement of flowers from scratch because there was a wedding happening in-game with ties to the mob, so it mattered what the meanings of the flowers were in the bridal bouquet. We had a year of downtime in-game not too long ago, and one of the PCs ended up working at a lumber camp. So now I know way more than I ever expected about the necessary members of a logging crew and what kind of salary they should have. And I could go on. I'm 4.5 years into DMing a consistent campaign, and I've built the world from the ground up. It's been fascinating to see the kind of things that come up when I want to understand how everything works so I can DM them accurately. Look, I know there are games out there where people don't care about this kind of stuff, but I also know that there are D&D games where people want to have the extensive knowledge of ancient marriage rules and sailing ships and dragon skull to horse skull ratios and all that. Pre-colonial Indonesian architecture. You ever play those games with your friends where whoever says the most random thing wins? I think this guy wins it for this thread. The thermodynamics and cubic weight of granite and the nutritional properties of mayonnaise. Someone had an alchemy jug? Someone had an alchemy jug. Ah yes, the eternal question of alchemy jugs. People often wonder, why does something that creates oil and poison and all this stuff also make mayonnaise? Like an ungodly amount of mayonnaise. The splash radius of a body drops from 300 feet, and other morbid facts. I swear, if the cops ever look through my search history, oh, we're all doomed. Don't worry, you're a DM. We're all doomed. What do different skin tones look like once dead? How long does it take blood to dry? Pythagorean theorem. Man, I don't know what game you're running where the Pythagorean theorem comes up, but I hope it's not coming up in my games. The economics of lumber production in the 17th century England. It also led me to answer the questions of how many horses could fit under a large elm tree. Because we all need to know that. I mean, when there's a bunch of horses and one elm tree, I mean, how many fit, right? Had to research the physics of hot air balloons to see if the party could, indeed, fly the various contraptions they wanted to make airborne. Did the math too. Mixing physics and D&D is both difficult and fun. It can be very rewarding, and it can completely ruin things very quickly when your players realize how easy it is to make a bomb. Donkey gestation period. Now, for reference, everything that happened in this story was consensual for the whole party, okay? We're starting strong. No boundaries were crossed. We were just stupid teen boys who thought this would be funny. One of my players was a druid, and after speaking with one of the horses, decided to transform into a female donkey and sleep with the horse. So now, after 6 months of traveling, this druid will spontaneously turn back into a donkey and birth a mule centaur. Is that how centaurs are born? Please tell me no. I've looked up so many things. Between book research and D&D planning, I think I've got enough in my search history to confuse even the best of psychologists. Whether it's learning the entirety of geographical landscape patterns for maps, or figuring out what different stones tasted like if you licked them, long story, or even how quickly bodies bloat in seawater so my players could figure out how long ago a ship attack was. I think the deepest rabbit hole I went down was researching the mechanics of multiple different types of crossbows and revolvers to figure out how to sketch up a blueprint of a revolving hand crossbow that would function IRL. I had a DM that was my dad that said if you can draw up a realistic blueprint, I'll let you engineer it. I did, indeed, get it in game. And that's going to conclude today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure you click that bell so you can be notified as soon as we have more awesome D&D videos come out. If you have any weird things that you've researched before, let me know in the comments, and we might turn this into a part 2 because nothing says amazing D&D content like people potentially incriminating themselves in the comment section. Anyway, thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one. Wait. Why does somebody have a slip here from the library that says how to overthrow the tavern keep without anybody noticing? Why is this on my table?